Namaste and welcome back, everybody, to Soundarya Lahari Sadhana. Today is verse number 31, but it is just a preparation for the big Śloka, which is coming up in 32. So we'll see a lot more detail about verse 32 and 31 today. We can begin today's session. Before that, we will have a quick recap on our last verse, which is verse number 30, where we looked into the three different aspects or three different stages into realization. So the Śloka read, Swadehodh bhudabir krinibir animadhyabiravido nishevye nitye Tvam ahamiti sada bhavayati yaha kimascharya tasya trinayana samriddhim trinayado mahasamvartagnir virachayati nirajana vidhyam. So it was again addressing to Devi. Devi, whoever was constantly meditating on you with a sense of aham bhavani, I am Bhavani, or oneness with Devi, and that Devi is encircled by divine powers like Anima, Lakima, Garima, Mahima. We saw 8 of them. And they are actually the rays that is emanating from her feet. So whoever, that kind of Devi, that Devi, whoever the devotee is praying her or meditating her with the sense of, I am that Devi, will achieve prosperity of Shiva, which is Shiva realization, will have the enlightenment. But the Śloka says it's of no surprise that the devotee may consider that realization, Shiva realization, enlightenment, as insignificant as a blade of grass. While the flames of cosmic dissolution, what happens in the cosmic dissolution is we become manifest, becomes unmanifest. That's what is the pralayam, mahapralayam. When everybody disappears, when Brahma, Vishnu, Indra, everybody disappears, we also disappear, right? But to this person who has aham bhavanitvam, that person, this cosmic dissolution, the fire of cosmic dissolution becomes simple arati. Arati is a waving of that light in front of them. So that's it. There is nothing big. So we looked into the deeper meaning of it. We looked into what is material benefit, what is we looked into 3 arrows. Material benefit is the first one. Then we looked into Devi Aradhana or Shiva, Shakti Sadhana. And then finally, Shiva realization. So sadhana is the place where we can do something, because the realization is something that need to happen later. So at this point in time, we have to do the sadhana. And then we also see that on the left side, the materialistic plane, we have only bhoga. I wouldn't say we have only bhoga, but we have a bhoga and a lot of misery, a lot of what do you call, let me bring that page. Hold on.
Suffering.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Roji. So bhoga and suffering. So along with the sukha and dukkha, I'm not sharing. Along with sukha and dukkha, we have a lot of suffering. But I received a question there that what is the bhoga on the material, because bhoga is there in the middle and the left side, right? Bhoga in the materialistic plane and the bhoga with the Shakti sadhana. So there, what is the difference between the two? So on the left side, it is involved with our vasana. Our binding desire for bhoga is what is driving that. But the other one, the middle one, is not a binding desire. Here we are doing the Ishwararpana Buddhi. With that, what Devi will provide is the bhoga, what we need. On the left side, it will be what we want, right? What we want is going to push you more and more into suffering. But if Devi gives you the one that the bhoga, what we need, what we require, then that doesn't push us to more suffering, right? So she will give you what is actually need for us. That's it, not the want. So to receive that grace, what we need to do is Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, because that's the only thing that we have to do. Karma Yoga is that all the actions done with two buddhi. First is Ishwararpana buddhi, where we are completely surrendering to that Ishwara, Devi, Shiva, Vishnu, Krishna, whoever the Ishtadevata is. And then when the results comes, we will receive it with a full prasada buddhi. So that's the action. And then Upasana Yoga is actually Karma Yoga itself, but the one that we do, Karma Yoga will involve all the 24-hour action, right? Japo, Jalpa, Shilpa, everything will include in the Karma Yoga. Upasana Yoga specifically is saying that we are sitting in the mat, we are saying the Śloka, we are chanting the Panchakshari, anything that we are doing it's a meditative practice, is the Upasana Yoga. So these two are the actions that we can do. Then slowly, Devi will give us what we need. And that is the Bhoga part is on the middle. But on the left side, it's also Bhoga. But there it is more, it is driven by our Vasana, and it has more suffering in it. And that is where our greed and everything comes in that Bhoga part. Okay, so that's the difference between two Bhoga. And then finally, Devi will provide us that Jnana, that knowledge to get that Shiva realization. But here in this verse says that Shiva realization is also that Bhakta who has oneness with Devi, because this is the end of the Shakti sadhana, where Devi will grant that Sayujya Padavi. Once she grants that Sayujya Padavi, it just that same thing is actually Shiva realization, because once we have that Jnanam, there is only slight difference between Shiva's Shakti Sayujya Padavi and Shiva Sayujam. There is only small difference in the expression, right? Shakti Sayujam is where we have oneness with Devi, we can experience it because we are experiencing that Shuddha Chaitanyam in that Shakti Sayujyam. But in Shiva, we become Shiva. We are the subject. There is no two there, right? The simplest example is that in Shakti Sadhana, we will taste the sugar. In Shiva Sayujyam, we become the sugar. So that's a simple way of mentioning. So that is the verse that we saw last week. And this week we have verse number 31. So let's see the verse and then we'll go into the meaning. Chadushashtya Tandre Sakalamati Sandhaya Bhuvanam Stita Tattat Siddhi Prasava Paratandre Pashupati Punastwan Nirbandhat Akhila Purusharthaika Ghatana Swatantram Te Tantram Kshititala Mavatita Raditam. A little tough words, one more time. Chadushashtya Tandrai Sakalamati Sandhaya Bhuvanam Sthitat Tattat Siddhi Prasava Paratantrai Pashupatihi Punastwan Nirbandhat Akhila Purusharthaika Ghatana Swatantram Te Tantram Kshititala Mavatita Raditam. Let's look into the meaning. Chadushashtya Tandrai. Chadushashti means 64. Through 64, Tandrai means Tantra. We'll talk about what Tantra is. Tantra simply means technique. Technique for what? We will see. Sakala Mati Sandhaya Bhuvanam. Sakala Bhuvanam means the whole world. Adi Sandhaya, this is a little controversial word. Some say it is Abhisandhaya, but I will go with the most translation, which is Adisandhaya, which is deluding the world. Some say that it is cheating the world. Why would Shiva cheat the world? So it is not cheating, but deluding the whole world. Adisandhaya Bhuvanam. Stida Tattat Siddhi Prasava Paratantrai Pashupati. Pashupati is Lord of Jiva, Lord of Pashu. Pashu means not in Malayalam Pashu means cow, but in Sanskrit Pashu means animals, and human is also an animal. So and that Jivas Pati is Shiva, Lord Shiva, Lord of Jiva. So this is talking about Pashupati. Pashupati is giving what? Sthita tat tat siddhi prasava paratantre. Tat siddhi becomes tat siddhi. Okay. Tat means each of the tantra which is capable of prasava paratantre, capable of generating its own siddhi. We saw some of the siddhi in last class, right? 8 anima, lakima, all these siddhi. So this tantra, 64 of them, which is provided by Pashupati, by Lord Shiva, could provide, each of them has a capability of generating its own siddhi power. So then after giving that 64 tantra to the Sakalam Bhuvana, for the whole world, and deluding the whole world, what does he do? He did the sthita. That is the first word in the second line. Sthita means remain stable, or Shiva, Lord Shiva, withdrew himself and became inactive. Remember how Shiva is always doing the tapas, right? In meditation. So after giving the world the 64 tantra and deluding the whole world, he went back to the tapas, sthita. Punas twan nirbandhat. Puna means again. Twat nirbandhat. Twat means your. Nirbandham means insistence or persuasion. So because of your persuasion, akhila purusharthaika ghatana. Akhila means the whole. So the purushartham is the human purpose, right? You know, the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they are the purushartha. They are the ones that we are all seeking, right? So for that akhila purushartheka khadana means for that unified fulfillment of all purushartha, all 4 of the purushartha. Swatantram te tantram chititala mavatita radita. Swatantram means independent, because we talked about the 64 tantra in the first section. So here this one is the independent of all those 64. Chititala, to this world. Chiti means this world, bhumi. Chititalam, in this world. Idam, this one. The whole thing is talking about this. This is a very particular one. This here in this verse, it is not mentioned specifically, but this means Śrī Vidyā Tantra, which is her tantram, which is the tantra of Shakti. So that specific tantra is Śrī Vidyā Tantra. So Tudantram te tantram chititala mavadita raditam. Avadita raditam brought down. So to combine the whole meaning, Lord Shiva first revealed 64 tantras that could themselves generate what siddhis. Siddhis were the psychic powers or worldly fulfillments, thereby deluding the world. And then Lord Shiva withdrew himself into inactivity. That is the word sthita. Later, Puna, at your persuasion, he revealed an independent tantra, which is the Śrī Vidyā Tantra, which can grant all 4 purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha to the world. So the 64 tantra that talked about the beginning of this verse could provide not all 4 of them. They could provide some of them. The ones that provide moksha cannot provide bhoga. The ones that provide bhoga cannot provide moksha, or the tantra that would provide part of these purushartha. That is what it means. So originally Shiva gave all these 64 tantra to the world, but Devi, being so compassionate, so she is the Karunamaya, right? We saw that in one of the verse that she even gave Kamadeva a status to defeat Shiva, right? So that compassionate she is. So she see her children running around and not able to get what they should be getting, like all these 4, right? Not just the bhoga, but also moksha. Moksha is the one that will give the complete cessation of the suffering. So she wanted that stage for all her devotees, all her children. We all are, right? So hence she persuaded Shiva to give that tantra. why she couldn't give that tantra by herself? No, because she wanted a couple things. This is all Srividya Tantra are provided by the guru, right? Like we have to get a diksha from a guru to get that tantra. So now, so she didn't want to give by herself, so she's asking Shiva to give, right? So that shows that a guru is needed to give this. So anybody just go and read in YouTube or in online, they're not able to get that full benefit of Śrī Vidyā Tantra, but it has to be given by using a diksha. So anyway, this is what she's asking him to reveal. She's asking Lord Shiva to reveal that tantra, the special tantra, which is tantra of herself, Śrī Vidyā Tantra, to her children, to all of us, that will grant all four purushartha. So that is the summary of this sloka. Now, we have to look into some of this meaning, right? Tantra, we did look into at the beginning of Soundarya Lahari, what is Tantra and all, but maybe a quick recap will be a good idea. So Tantra simply means, the word meaning is technique. Tantram is a technique. A technique for what? Technique for receiving the Purushartha, the Bhoga, Yoga, to receive anything that human beings are seeking for, is that technique is called Tantra. That's it. So now the question is that same thing Veda is providing, right? Veda or Vedanta. Veda along with Vedanta. Veda has two parts. The first part is called Karma Kanda, and the second part or the last part is called Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda is the Upanishad or Vedanta. So the first part, the Karma Kanda, provides the Bhoga, and which is Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and the last part, which is the Jnana Kanda, provides Moksha. So Veda also provide, right? So there is a difference between Veda and Tantra. So in Tantra, the Tantra Shastras are structured in a series of textbook called Agama. Okay. So now the difference between Agama and Veda. Vedas, in olden times, it was very restricted to some group of people, right? They're historically very strict eligibility rule called Adhikari, right? Regarding who can chant Veda, who can hear Veda, who can perform the Vedic sacrifices. So there were strict training and strict structures that was established for Veda. Whereas the Agama for Tantra, they were designed for universal access, regardless of caste, creed, gender, background, social status. You just have to be initiated by a guru. You need to receive a diksha, and then you can be initiated into this Tantra, and then you can practice. So it was available to everybody. That is one difference between Vedic scriptures and then Agama, which is the Tantric scriptures. And Tantra is not just for Shaktiya. Just here, the Soundarya Lahari we are learning is a Shaktiya based, but then there are Vishnu Tantra, all different Devatas have Tantra, right? Shaiva Tantra, Vishnu Vaishnava Tantra, everything. So now, here, we are talking about 64 Tantra. Our topic is not 64 Tantra because the main thing is that the ultimate Tantra, which is what I gave the topic for this sloka. So there is no point in looking into what the 64 is. So some of them explain the details of what are the specific 64 Tantra. All we need to know is that 64 is meant for mainly the materialistic benefit, right? So that is what majority of people seeking is materialistic benefit to begin with, right? So that is what everybody wanted. So that is where that word delude, it's not cheating, it's deluding is a good word, right? And delusion is something that delusion or Maya is something that we are very familiar with. So even in here, you see that Shakti sadhana, right? So Shakti is known as, in Lalita Sahasranama, Shakti is known as Vidya Surupini. Vidya Surupini and Avidya Surupini. So she provides both. So Vidya takes us to the right side, Avidya takes us to the left side. So Avidya brings us the delusion, the moham, All that delusion comes with avidya. So that takes us to the left side, whereas she, the same Shakti, can provide Vidya, and which takes us to the right side. So all we need to do to get the Vidya is to do the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. So no matter whatever we are talking about, the practice for us is the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, right? So that is where Vidya comes in. So here, Shiva, because majority of people doesn't even they don't want, because spirituality also comes with the grace of Devata, right? Devi's grace is needed for us to even start the sadhana, because how many of us sit in so many on the meditation and then our mind is totally distracted, because even to focus our mind, we need her grace. So this is something that is given by her. So we are here, sitting here on a Wednesday at night at 9 o'clock, 8:30, because of the grace of Devi, right? So that is that she is the one who is providing the Vidya. So that will take us to the right side. Now, this is the 64 Tantra we are talking here, is the one that will delude us even more, because that is the one that provides only the aihika, or the worldly things only, right? Worldly, all the materialistic things. So that is the one that takes us to the left side. So the 64 is not our topic. So our topic is the 65. The next one, the Swatantram Ye Te Tantram, the one that Devi mentioning Pashupati, her own Tantra, the one that can provide both Bhoga and Yoga, right? Both, because Tantra is known as Yogo Bhogo Ratam Tantra. So it gives Bhogam and Tantram. Again, the difference in Bhoga here and the first one is that this Bhoga has less suffering, right? The one that gives with complete understanding, or whatever we need is what she provide, and that will, so here, even if something is undesirable result, there you are completely doing that prasada buddhi and surrender to Devi, so it doesn't look so bad to us, right? So you will see that as you practice, you will realize that even if when you are having some undesirable result, it doesn't hit you so hard, because on the left side, every sukha will hit you on the rooftop, and every dukkha will hit you on the rock bottom. So that is not how it will be. So that the degree of on the both side for likes and dislikes that is bringing to us, that it will not be that bad. Right? Slowly, that suffering gets reduced. And when the moment that she gives that Purna Jnanam for Shiva, about Shiva, the Shiva Jnana Pradayini, once she gives that, we become Shiva, and that is the complete cessation of the suffering, right? So that is the Tantra here talking about. So Tantra and uses we talked about the Veda and Tantra. Veda more like, because it is restricted for Tantra is not restricted, it is anybody can practice, and the only thing is needed, you need a guru and you need diksha. And what Shankaracharya did with this sloka is that the same benefit of a guru with the diksha giving to a devotee, that same benefit can be received by providing to somebody who doesn't have access to a guru to get a diksha. That same benefit can be received by chanting this sloka, right? So we don't have to know this Śrī Vidyā mantra. We don't have to know any of the 64, none of that. By simply chanting this stotra, we can receive the same benefit that is why Shankaracharya wrote this stotra. So all we have to do is that Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. And at this point in time, our Upasana Yoga is to chant the stotra and chant the Panchakshari. So now some of the nuance to it. Let me see. The word Pashupati. Pashupati, I mentioned that every word, why didn't the sloka use the word Shiva directly, right? So there is a reason why the specific word Pashupati is used, because Pashupati, because Pashu means those who are concerned with worldly sukha. That is what Pashu means, right? There is a famous sloka called Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha Samanyetat Pashubhir Naranam Dharmo hi Tesha Madhiko Vishesho Dharmena Hina Pashubhis Samana, which means that Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha, eating, sleeping, fear, and mating. So these four tendencies are common to both animals and humans. So that's why everybody is called Pashu. So if these are four are things, then we are now different from an animal. We are also Pashu, right? So what differentiate humans from the rest of the animals, because humans is also an animal, is the spiritual intelligence, or this desire to get that spiritual freedom and to get enlightenment. Dharma and the spirituality is the one that is the extra quality that distinguishes us from an animal. So ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha, which is same for everybody. So but if you look, majority of the human beings are in this bracket, right? They eat, sleep, fear, and mate, right? So we go around and around and around. That's it. But that dharma and spiritual practice separate us. That is how we become that human is brought in the human being, that humanity is brought by this particular characteristic, the spiritual intelligence, right? So that's why it is called Pashupati. So because if we are concerned only with worldly sukha, so for those people's pati is Pashupati, Lord Shiva. So that is what the simple meaning of this verse. And then a little bit on Śrī Vidyā Tantra. Śrī Vidyā Tantra has so many different sampradaya. And Śrī Vidyā Tantra is about Devi. So Tripura Sundari, Sri Maha Tripura Sundari is it is a tantra about her. Now, Tantra, we said it's a technique. It's a technique for receiving all four Purushartha. Now, there is one technique that you are doing in every single Soundarya Lahari class, is one at the beginning when we are chanting and doing a Manasa Puja. That's a technique. That's a Tantra, right? What we are doing is a technique whereby we are slowly recognizing different elements in us, right? We are seeing this body. So what is this body made of? Body is made of Panchabhuta, right? So then slowly we take each Panchabhuta and say, okay, if I remove this and give it to Devi, if I remove the second Panchabhuta, the Akasha, air, water, fire, everything in me, all the Panchabhuta in me, if I separate it and then give it to Devi, what is remaining, right? So that it's slowly to understand that Shuddha Chaitanya Minas. So that's one technique, right? So, and the whole Tantra, it's nothing mystic about it. It's simple technique to understand who we are, ultimately to who we are, because that is what the moksha is. But then remember, this is also used for Bhoga. Bhoga is to get fulfillment of our materialistic benefit, right? Now, if the puristic Vedantin would say that we need only yoga. But the thing is that why are we here, right? If we are struggling to meet our end, like struggling to get the food, shelter, do we really think that we will be here talking about dharma and moksha? No, because that only if we have those sufficiently taken care of the bhoga, then only we come here to even to listen to something like this, right? So those things are also needed. The bhoga is definitely needed. It's not that we all need only moksha, nothing like that. Bhoga is definitely needed, but the way that we need it, acquire bhoga is different in a pure materialistic person versus a Shakti sadhaka or Upasaka. So that is the only difference. So we definitely need all the bhoga. So don't feel anything bad about acquiring materialistic thing. Actually, we have to acquire as much wealth as we can possibly can, right? In a dharmic way. So there is nothing wrong with it. You should do it for our ourselves and for our generations, right? For the next generation also. So there is nothing wrong with that. However, it should be done with that dharmic way, and also it should be done completely with that two buddhi, Ishwararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi. That's the only way that we can acquire more anyway, right? Because otherwise we go to that the opposite side anyway. So that is Tantra, Agama, Veda differences. And then one more thing before we go, the big sloka, next verse, right? In the 32. 32 talk about Śrī Vidyā. Śrī Vidyā, majority of the Anushtana is based on puja, which uses mantra. So in Vedic ritual, it is yajna or yajna. Yajna is fire sacrifice. And in Tantra, it's puja. The majority of the puja that you see in temples are actually a combination of Vedic ritual and the puja of Tantra. So Tantra is any puja is Tantra, right? Tantra is where the Devata is doing the puja of, and there are different Devatas, and each Devata has a gunam. You already know all that thing. I'm not repeating. So that the particular gunam you will receive when you are doing the puja to that Devata. And this Śrī Vidyā is the one that will give everything, the Bhoga and Moksha. And again, my goal is not to tell Śrī Vidyā to you, and again, I'm not qualified. It should be given by a guru, like I said. But let's look into mantra, right? What that Śrī Vidyā is a mantra. And what is a mantra? Again, at the beginning, we did look into it. Maybe a good introduction before we go into that next sloka 32, because 32 is about Śrī Vidyā. So what is a mantra? A mantra is something, mananat trayate iti mantra, the one that protects us is mantra. But in tantric way, it is explained as anything. So we have to go back to how the world is created, right? So the world is created, the universe is created from the Shuddha Chaitanya. In Shuddha Chaitanya, which is Shiva, when the power of vibration comes from Shakti, that first nadam comes, the first sound comes. From that sound, the Shabda Prapancham is created, the entire Shabda. There are 51 is the one that we use mainly in Sanskrit, but not only the 51, there are much more sounds are there. But our rishis separated just the 51 of them. And they also found that the combination of these sounds gave some guna. Sattva, Rajas, Tamo guna. So this combination gives some gunas, and that is the mantra. So Om Namah Shivaya, Na-ma Shivaya, the 5 letters, 5 aksharas combined has a particular guna of removing our vasanas to grant us chitta shuddhi. That is the guna of Panchakshari. So similarly, so many mantras that rishis have perceived. It's not that they have discovered, because it is out there in the when Shakti created the universe. Those Shabdam is the one that first came. So it was out there in the universe. When in deep meditation, our rishis found that this combination of these letters has some gunas. So that is what the mantra is. So now, in order to understand, in order to go back, right? So we are created from this Shabda Prapancham, a Drishya Prapancham is created, and we are also part of that Drishya Prapancham, right? Me as a human being is also part of that Drishya Prapancham. So now I'm asking, I want to figure out, who am I, right? So let's forget about us. First, let's look into a clay pot. I thought of bringing a clay pot. I forgot about it. So a clay pot. A clay pot, in order to understand what the pot is made of, that we know that it is made of clay. So other than the clay, there is nothing in the pot. right? So there is no pot as separate from clay. So clay is the underlying reality of the pot. So now the prapancham is created. So now I'm asking, like, what is this prapancham made of? So to understand the underlying reality of that prapancham, I can understand this Shuddha Chaitanya. I can perceive this Shuddha Chaitanya, right? So now the question is that how can I understand this Shuddha Chaitanya? How can I understand the pot? If I understand the clay, I know the existence of pot, right? Pot is made of clay. So now I'm trying to find my clay. It's like, what am I made of? What is this universe made of? So in order for this to understand that, the rishis say that it is Shuddha Chaitanya, right? That's what rishis are all saying. But I'm not there yet. I didn't understand that yet. So in order to understand, in order to close that gap, so for me to understand from the me that I'm seeing right now, to see that I am Shuddha Chaitanya, the middle part is that sound. Because from the Shabda Prapancham is what the Drishya Prapancham or the universe is made. So using that sound as a vehicle, I'm trying to understand Shuddha Chaitanya. So that mantra is that sound. So because Shabda Prapancham was created before before that Drishya Prapancham, so I'm using that sound to understand that Shuddha Chaitanya. So it is the reverse path. So Shuddha Chaitanya, vibration, sound, and the scene, the universe, right? So if I am in that universe. So now I'm trying to go back. In order to go back, I can use that Shabda Prapancham. So which rishis have already told. So the Tantra, in Tantra, that Srividya mantra is that specific mantra that will tell me what I'm being made of. The pot is made of a clay. Now, what I'm made of is the Shuddha Chaitanyam, that pure consciousness is what I'm made of. So that I can understand using this technique of mantra, the technique of sound. So that's just, there is nothing mystic about this. So the sound is how I can understand that. So everything has a basic element. For example, let's look into the 5 elements, right? So the 5 elements, the water has a basic sound. The sound of Vam is the sound of water. Sound Ra is the basic sound of fire. Hum is the sound of space. So each of them has a specific sound, right? And the combination of that sound is the mantra. And we are using a technique, the tantra. We are using the technique of using the mantra to understand what this universe is made of. So now you know what mantra is. Different mantra is used for different purpose. There are mantra for Bhoga, for all these different gunas, to get the guna of removing the obstacle. We have a particular mantra for getting the Siddhi and Buddhi. We have one. For Jnanam Vijnanam, we have one. So each of them, we have different mantra. And this Śrī Vidyā mantra is the one that can provide us everything. Again, our goal is not to learn the 64 Tantra or the Śrī Vidyā mantra. Our goal is to understand this stotra, this Soundarya Lahari, and the same benefit of the mantra can be received by chanting the stotra as well. So we won't go deeper into these mantras, but we will just understand from at the base level. So what the mantra is, so that it is no longer mysticism to you. So using the mantra, we can understand. It is just a technique to understand what we are made of. What is the clay? That the clay is what the pot is made of. Then now this thing called human being, what is it made of? This thing called universe, what is it made of? That is the rishis are saying what this is made of, Shuddha Chaitanyam. And they are also saying that we can understand by self-inquiry, we ourselves can understand that, right? We can experience it. And that once we experience it, they also say that this is the cessation of all the suffering. So mantra is just a technique. Okay. So that with that background, we can now easily go into the next verse 32. So this 31 is just a stepping stone to 432. Once again, this verse, Chatushtya Tantre Sagalamadi Sandhaya Bhuvanam. Sorry. Titat tattat tithi प्रसवपरतन्त्रै पशुपति पुनस्त्वन्निर्बन्धात् अखिलपुरुषार्थैकघटना स्वतन्त्रं ते तन्त्रं क्षितितलमवादीतरदितम्. So Lord Śiva revealing the 64 tantras that could themselves generate siddhis, psychic powers, worldly fulfillments, thereby deluding the world. Why deluding the world? Because they are avidya. So anything that is materialistic is actually causing you avidya. So hence the delusion, moha, deluding the world. And then he withdrew. Lord Śiva withdrew into inactivity. Later, by your persuasion, Devi, he revealed that an independent tantra, your Śrī Vidyā Tantra, which can grant all four purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha to the world. So that's what the verse is saying. We can go into the sadhana. Let's sit tall. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Kotit Samaprabha, Nirvikhnam Kurume Deva, Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Dhyana Slokam. Sindhurarunavigraham Trinayinam Manikyamallispurat Taranayakashekharam Smitamukhim Abhinavakshoruham Panibhyam Alipurnaratnachashakam Riktotpalam Vipratim Saumyam Ratnakhadastaraktacharanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Sitaji, we can chant 28.
Okay. Sudhamappi aswadya pradibhayajara mrityuharinīm vibhadyam te vishve vidishatamakhatya divishadaha karalam yatkshvelam kabalitavada kala kalana na shambhoho tanmoolam tava janani tadanga mahima kiരീडं वैरिञ्जं परिहरपुरकैडभवितः कठोरे कोटीरे स्खलसि जहि जम्बारि मुकुडम् प्रणम्रेष्वेतेषु प्रसभमुपयातस्य भवनं भवस्याभ्युत्थाने तव परिजनोक्तिर्विजयते स्वदेहोद्भूताभिर्घृणिभिः अणिमाद्याभिरभितो निषेव्ये नित्ये त्वाम् अहमिति सदा भावयति यः किमाश्चर्यं तस्य त्रिनयनमसत् समृद्धिं तृणयतो महासंवर्ताग्निर्विरचयति नीराजनविधिं चतुष्षष्ट्या तन्त्रै सकलमधिसन्धाय भुवनं स्थितस्तत्सिद्धि प्रसवपरतन्त्रै पशुपतिः पुनस्त्वन्निर्बन्धार्थखिलपुरुषार्थैकखडना स्वतन्त्रं ते तन्त्रं क्षितितलमवातीतरदिदम्.
I wish you all the blessings from Devi. We'll see you all in August. Take care.